Good morning and welcome to 101 Think Like a Marketer. My name is Dacia Clark and I am the Assistant Director of the Small Business Development Center, SBDC. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the basics of marketing. So whenever I do workshops, I like to start off with a couple goals. And the first goal is that I like it to be interactive. Now, it's going to be hard if you're listening to this online, as it's hard, obviously, to make it interactive since we're not live. But my second goal can apply if you're watching it online here. And that would be I hope you can come away with one gold nugget of information that you didn't know prior to this presentation. So we're going to go over 5 concepts of marketing. And our first question is why? Why do people want your product or service? What is the reasoning behind you wanting to start your business in the first place? Do you have any competition for what you are wanting to market? Our second thing we're going to talk about is customers. Are there enough customers? What is your competitive advantage? And if you do have competitors, which most people do, what is your competitive advantage? Can you state that? And then if you know that, then that's what we want to market towards. What is your pricing approach going to be? That's another important concept when we're talking about marketing. Are you going to be the lowest? Are you going to be the highest with your service or product that you're offering? So kind of what your pricing approach is going to help you figure out who you're going to market to. And then what is your marketing budget? And do you have one? And should you have one? So you have to be able to answer these 2 questions right off the bat. Why do customers need your product or service? So why are they coming to you? Is the product or service, is the product a need? Is the product a want? Is the service a need? Is the service a want? Why are customers coming to you to get a particular product or service? So you should right off the bat be able to tell me, if I was asking you, why do your customers need your product or service? And then secondly, once you know why they need your product or service, why are they going to buy from you over the competition? Are they going to purchase from you due to price? Are they going to purchase your product or service based on availability or your speed of delivery? Is it product quality? Do you have favorable financing terms for your clients? So you need to be able to say why your customers are going to purchase from you versus someone else. And if you can answer this question, then it is going to help us focus your marketing and advertising dollars. Okay, customers. So this is important. Whenever I meet with a client and I ask them who their customers are, especially when they're a startup business, the most common answers is, well, I want everyone to be my customers. So that is not the correct answer. The correct answer, you should be able to tell me what age range your customers are in. Are they male or female? Do they have a college education or not? What nationality are they? So there's a lot of things that go into saying exactly who you are trying to reach, who is your customers. And then once you know who your customer target market is, are there enough customers in your area to make your product or service a go? Are there enough customers that will purchase your product or service in your area that are going to make your business viable? So I have a couple things written out here. So if you're starting a restaurant, you're probably good to go. You know, people are going to eat out, so that's kind of a given. So um, if you're starting a restaurant, you don't really have to worry about if you have enough customers, because you do, but it is still important to know exactly who you are trying to reach. If it is a new product or service that this area hasn't heard of before, then you may want to look at an industry report. You may want to do some surveying of people, and you're definitely going to want to do your homework. For example, I worked with a client, and she was going to start a restaurant, and they already had a business. And so what they were able to do is to kind of test out some of their menu ideas before she fully fledged went into starting her restaurant. You will see boutiques do this a lot. You will see them, if they're going to go to market, you'll see them do a Facebook page, a survey on Facebook. Even if you don't have a business yet, you will see people start a Facebook page to see if they can garner interest in whatever they're going to do. Can you get the public to come alongside you? Are they going to be excited about this new product or new service that you are offering? You can see an example here in Pittsburgh is we had two people that started a food truck, and because they got so much interest in their food truck, then they went ahead and started you know, a storefront, and now have a retail storefront. So you definitely want to do your homework, starting smaller versus bigger. Are there things that you can do to garner interest in what you're doing before you even spend too much of your hard-earned money? Okay, so once we know who our customers are, then we're going to look at our competitors. So everyone has a competitor. Sometimes we have to look harder for a competitor. Sometimes a competitor might not necessarily be selling the exact same thing that you were selling, but if they're selling a substitution of something that you are selling, then they could be a competitor. So we want to look to see what your advantage is over a competitor that offers a similar product or service that you are offering. So we talk about two types of competitive advantage. And there's natural advantages and, and unnatural competitive advantage. So a natural advantage is something that happens on its own or without much effort on your part as a business owner. So natural competitive advantage are things like a better location, a drive-through, better pricing, better interior, 24/7 service, So an example here for a natural competitive advantage would be that Root Coffee Shop in Pittsburgh is a place that encourages people to come in and hang out. So they have a nice interior vibe. Their vibe is very welcoming. And then versus scooters that doesn't have an interior, but they have a drive-through. So in thinking about that competitive advantage in terms of marketing, we would say Root would advertise to come get coffee, do your homework, and they would have events that would draw people into their space. While Scooters, because their competitive advantage is a drive-through, they're going to market more about their convenience and their speed because of their drive-through. So once you know what your competitive advantage is, it's a little bit easier to find, to figure out how to use your competitive advantages as a marketing angle. Another example when we're talking about a competitive advantage is we had an HVAC client that came in several months back, and he had been in the industry for 15 years but was new to the Pittsburgh area. And we asked him if he would be willing to work hours outside of the normal 8 to 5, and if he would be willing to work on weekends. And he said yes. And so he was supposed to come back in to visit with us. And he called to cancel the appointment because he said his phone was ringing off the hook. He had so much business that he couldn't keep up with it. And it's because he created a competitive advantage in the fact that most HVAC people were not willing to work after 5 and on the weekends. And because he was getting business. And so that's what he needs to market, that he will work on weekends, that he maybe even would work 24/7. So being 24/7 definitely has a competitive advantage, but you have to be willing to obviously be okay with working those hours. I was working with a client that wanted to have 24/7 notary. He wanted to be a 24/7 notary. That's how he was, because you can get a notary in the bank, and lots of notaries are free, but he thought if he did 24/7 notary that maybe he could get some business, because sometimes you need a notary on the weekends and other times outside your regular 8 to 5 hours. So that could definitely be a competitive advantage if you're willing to do something like that in an industry where it would make sense. So an unnatural competitive advantage is something that you create. For example, we have 2 boutiques in town, Audacious and Embellish, and an unnatural partnership where you would partner with a competitor, and they partnered for a Girl Gang Appreciation Day. And if you purchased something at both stores, and you were entered into a drawing to win a huge gift basket. And they also partnered with a food truck, the Blue Spoon, which is now also has their own retail space. And the Blue Spoon set up in between the 2 boutiques, so they could even so you could get something to eat in between traveling in between the 2 stores. So even though you have competitors, sometimes it's good to partner with competition. You will see that a ton in Pittsburgh. If you follow Root Facebook page, they do a lot of partnering with other businesses. And so even though they have competitors, sometimes it's good to partner up with your competitors, because if one small business is doing well, two small businesses together can usually do even better. So this is just examples of how you can use your competitive advantage to market your company. So the first example here we have of made in the USA, quality that will last, is an example of how a manufacturer could compete against a cheap import. So that would just be an example of that. The second example, money back guarantee, would be good for a new company to use if they didn't have any reputation, and you could do this with a targeted customer group. So money back guarantees gives a new company some legitimacy that they are willing to stand behind their product or service. The third example would be for a restaurant with an award-winning chef, or a restaurant that had been given an award. So you definitely would want to market based on those type of things. The fourth example here would be for a local competitor that is competing primarily with online competitors or out-of-town competitors. So if local, fast, and convenient, come get it today, that is a good tagline for any local business that is trying to compete maybe even against Amazon. And the last example here, businesses that are giving away some of their proceeds to a nonprofit to help make a difference. Social driven millennials and younger customers are people that want to make a difference. Sometimes if you target your marketing towards, you're giving a donation of your proceeds to support mothers and mothers, or to support the animal shelter or something like that. So lots of times you can use that type of marketing to draw people into your store because they are passionate about whatever you are giving back to. So these are just some examples of taglines, taglines to kind of get you thinking how you could market your own business. When I was doing this presentation, in Coffeyville, and we were talking, I had a woman in there that had a daycare, and I was asking her, like, how are you different than the other daycares in your area? And she was like, well, we are the only daycare that has degreed teachers. And I'm like, then you need to use that as an advantage. I was working with another client the other day that gives facials. And I said, how do you think you are different from the other spa-like place that gives facials? And she was like, well, my competitor is more about what the interior of their space feels like, and they want to make you feel good. And she was like, I feel like I'm more results driven. So I want my clients to be able to see results in their complexion from 1 month to the next. I'm like, then that's what you need to target. You need to use your marketing dollars and say something about you're going to see results. So lots of times, if I can talk to you as a client, which I'm willing to do, I think my information is at the end of the slide. If it's not, I will provide it to you. I'm happy to sit down with you and talk through who your customers are, what your competitive advantage is, so you can more easily focus your precious dollars that you have set aside for marketing or advertising. The next thing that we are going to talk about is 3 different types of pricing approaches. So the first one that we're going to talk about here is pricing floor. And this is the break-even point or the lowest amount that can be charged for a product or service while still making a little bit of profit. So you have a water bottle that you're selling for or that you are purchasing for $10 and you're going to mark it up just a little bit so you can make a minimal profit. So normal market maybe 50%. Pricing floor, you may just charge like 10% over the wholesale cost. A loss leader is where you are actually going to sell your product or service for a non-operating loss. And so that means that the price that you are going to sell it to your customer for is exactly what you purchased it from your vendor for. So your customer is going to end up paying whatever your cost is. So you're not going to be making a profit. It's a loss leader. So why would a business do this? A business would do this in order to get customers into the store. So the thinking is once you get them in the store for this thing that you're selling at a loss, and remember, it's just a non-operating loss, then the thought is that they will purchase other things in the store that are marked up the regular like 50% or whatever it is for your industry. Okay, and the last pricing approach is called a cost plus pricing. So this is where you determine what your cost structure is and then what profit margin you desire, and you add that to the cost. The plus aspect can be determined in a variety of ways, but the most common approach is simply adding a given percentage to the cost. For example, as I said with the water bottle, if you purchased it as a business for $10, that's your cost, and a cost plus pricing, you would then say, okay, I want to make 50%. So then you would, the retail amount would be $20. So that's a cost plus pricing approach. Oops, sorry. So you have to kind of know what pricing approach you're going to use. And sometimes you use a combination of these pricing approaches in your business. Okay, marketing on a budget. So this is, everyone always wants to know, like, it can be expensive to market. So right off the bat, we think social media is a good way to market your business because you can do it fairly inexpensive. And then so when we say social media, people are like, well, what social media channels? Well, we go back to who are your customers. So if your customers, that you are trying to reach are in their, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, Facebook maybe is the way to go. If you have a younger customer base, maybe you use Instagram or TikTok. If you are a business to business, so if you are a business that is doing business with other businesses instead of individual customers, then maybe you would want to advertise on LinkedIn. So in order to know which social media is best for you to use in your business, you have to know who your customers are. Who is your target market? Another thing that you can do is to set up your Google business listing. And I have inserted a link to a video here that walks you through this process. This is an easy way for customers to find you online and to get firsthand, hopefully up-to-date information that they can rely on. And it also gives your customers access to a Google map of your location. So when somebody Googles for your business, a little page should pop up to the right on Google, and it should have the name of your business, your hours, your location, a phone number. It should have all this little like snippet of your business on the right hand side. And the only reason you can get that, the only way you can get that to show up is to go through this Google business listing. It's free, but you have to fill the form out. Then they will send you a postcard in the mail, and then you have to get back on and verify that you received a postcard. The reason they do that is because they are wanting to send that postcard to a physical business location. So they will not let you send this to a home address. It has to be a business location. And it cannot be a PO box, obviously. Creating a website is another thing that you can do that is fairly inexpensive. This would help you create additional trust factor. You can get a Wix website, and the hosting for that website would maybe cost you $300 a year. And another thing is that the SBDC can actually help you create a free website, and then all you have to do is pay for the hosting, which is like $30 a month. So that's where we say you can get a website for $300 a year. A basic website that's easy to use, that looks nice and clean, and highlights what your competitive advantage is. So if you are in need of a website, please reach out, because that is something that we can assist you with. If you have a physical presence, so if you have a storefront, signage is essential. Not just signage on the outside of your building, but also signage on the inside of your building. Sometimes you need to label things on the inside of your store so people know exactly what they are. And another thing you need to do is to make sure that you have prices on your items in the store. If you have things that aren't priced in your store, then lots of times people will just assume that it's too expensive, and so they won't even ask you what the price is. They will pick it up, look underneath. If it's not priced, they'll put it right back down, and they won't even say another thing, because the human brain just assumes that it's going to be too expensive for them to purchase. So those are 4 things that you can do. Signage can definitely get a little more pricey, but it's almost, when I work with small businesses, we always budget for marketing and advertising. I would say as a startup business, you need to plan on spending somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000. Obviously, that's going to depend on the industry that you are in. But having $500 for a marketing budget is probably not going to be enough, especially when you are a startup and you're trying to get your name out there. Another thing that's not listed that I should probably have listed is to be a member of your local chamber of commerce. That's another great tool to use that is fairly inexpensive and can provide a lot of value, especially if you're a service type business. Lots of times people will want to know what businesses are chamber members, because they just feel like that those businesses are more legitimate. And so that's probably one that I should add on here, is to be a chamber member. Okay, and because this is an online presentation, if you have questions, you can certainly put them in the chat. But more than likely, you are watching this after the fact, and you are just going to email me So I do have my contact information here. So thank you for joining me today for 101 Think Like a Marketer. And make sure you reach out if you have any questions, if you are starting your business and you are trying to figure out who your customers are, what your competitive advantage is. Again, this is all kind of the process that we go through with a new client when we're trying to put together a business plan. We definitely want to know how you're going to market to your customers, and definitely will help you in putting a marketing amount into your budget so that you can be expecting to pay money on advertising and marketing, as that is an important aspect of your business. So please reach out to me, dclark@pittstate.edu. And if I don't know the answer, I have some great people that I work with in my office that have a lot more marketing experience, and I can definitely get you in contact with them. So, thank you again for your time today, and please reach out if you have any business related questions, as we can assist you in lots of different areas with starting your business and getting an LLC and an EIN, Kansas Retailer Sales Tax. So all things business related, come to the Small Business Development Center. We are funded through the federal government, SBA, and the state Department of Commerce, and then of course Pittsburgh State University. So most of the help that we provide is at no cost to you. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So hope you have a great day, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.